This is a shir about Rosh Hashanah, even though it's quite early. But I generally don't say a shir about Rosh Hashanah because I'm not here, whatever. So I'm going to give a shir about Rosh Hashanah. There are several questions that you have to ask. Wow, that was a light. There are several questions that you have to ask about Rosh Hashanah that really highlight the fact that we don't really know what's going on. It's really very problematic, the whole concept of Rosh Hashanah. Let's take a look at some of the questions. First question. What exactly is the essence of Rosh Hashanah? Or rather, what is the event that transpires in Rosh Hashanah that really happens, in other words, or, so on. Now, we would say that what happens on Rosh Hashanah is what's called Yom Hadin, right? The Judgment Day. The fundamental or the main event that happens on Rosh Hashanah is Din, just judgment. In other words, the Baruch Hashem judges mankind, or whatever, and what does he judge them about? Life and death. It's basically what it is. Achaim v'hamavos. Will a person live this year, or will he die this year? Then you have, that's what we have in the San Toikev, mi bekitzoy, that's why there's such a focus there on living and dying. So fundamentally, we would say that it's a Yom Hadin, which is a judgment event on life or death, basically. But that is really very problematic. Why? Imagine if New York City, there was one day that the courts were opened, and the rest of the year they were closed. Can you imagine the crime that would be committed in New York City? Does it make sense that one day is a judgment day out of the whole year, and the rest of the year, you do whatever you want, basically? Because you know that the judgment day will only be one day, Aleph Tishrei. It doesn't sound very reasonable that this is what's going on. So the question is, if it's a judgment day, well, how could there be a judgment day once a year? Right? That's the question. It's not reasonable to assume. Second question, that the Gemara says, Odom nidem b'chol yoyim, that a person is really judged every day, which makes sense. So isn't that a contradiction to Rosh Hashanah? Then? It's a contradiction to Rosh Hashanah. So the question, of course, is how do we understand this? Obviously, the judgments have to be in some way different, or what happens really?
Maybe he'll be judged on that day if he'll be able to get whatever bracha or Chazal Fakir that was judged on Rosh Hashanah. I mean, if they were judging him that he should get bracha, so down that day, if he's willing for that bracha, that judgment, should be recorded.
No, not really, no. If he gets judged and that's the verdict, you get that, It's not, or it's not a judgment. Anyway, that's a third question. What happens on Rosh Hashanah? It's a judgment day. How can judgment day be once a year? And the third question is, it says that a person is judged every day. So, that's a question. Fourth question. It says everybody's judged. Everything is judged. Kol bo olam.
Even those who don't have Bechira.
Yes. Even those who have no free will. But that makes no sense. The concept of guilt or culpability is only true by somebody that has free will. So therefore, he caused or he did what he did. Truly, he's the cause. So he can be judged by what he did. But an animal has no bechira. You see? So how can an animal be judged? Yeah, we know that everything is judged. So what doesn't make sense is that why would things that have no free will at all be judged? What does it mean even to be judged? There's no guilt by these things. So how in the world could they be judged? You see? That's a fourth question. The fifth question is, what happens really when a person is judged? Imagine you're going to be called up into a court case, and you're the defendant, and it's a life or death issue. You're accused of murder, or whatever you're accused of. But you know that you're going to be judged, and if you're found guilty, you're going to sit for 50 years. right? What would you do? Would you, that night, open up a Suda, a festive meal, right? And sit and enjoy, whatever you eat? Of course not.
We wouldn't be good Yom Tov either.
No, how could it be? So the question is, it doesn't make sense. How could Rosh Hashanah be a Yom Tov? What do you mean Yom Tov? Everybody's being judged, life and death. So how in the world, Rosh Hashanah, what do? We have a whole festive meal, right? We come home and the meal is all set up, eat the, whatever, the Yom Tov dishes, honey, whatever, sweet, and whatever's going on. But, if anybody walked into the house and you asked the guy, what do you think is going on here? Well, the guy would say, they're celebrating something, some festive occasion. And they say, well, not really. They're really, what's happening now, they're really being judged today if they live or die, and so on. So the guy said, I don't believe this. Their behavior is completely incompatible with the event going on that day. So how do you understand that? How could Rosh Hashanah be a Yom Tov if it's a Yom Adin? Those two things are totally compatible. In a real Yom Adin, you'd be sweating bullets, you'd be frightened, you'd be sitting in the corner waiting for the axe to fall, so to speak, right? You'd have an incredible amount of fear and anxiety. You wouldn't be sitting there as if like a poritz, celebrating what? Something's wrong here. If it's a Yom Adin, again, how could you sit by a meal, by the night and in the morning and so on? It doesn't make sense. That's question number 5. Question number 6. Well, the Malachim, the Gemara says, the Malachim said to the Rosh Hashanah, what's the Yom Tov? Why don't they say Hallel? Wow. So the Rosh Hashanah says, well, since the books of life and death are open, they can't say Hallel. What's the Havamina of the Malachim? You don't say Hallel. How can you say Hallel when you're being judged if you live or die? So what in the world did the Malachim think even to ask that question? And the Rosh Hashanah says, well, since the books of life and death are open in front of me, can't say Hallel. What do you inform them that they didn't know before? In other words, what is the nature of this dialogue here? What's going on here? Got that? That's number 6. Number 7. We have a bunch of tefillas that are arranged. We call them Malchios, where we proclaim psukim that declare God as king. Then we say Zechronis, where we say that the Rosh Hashanah should remember our good deeds. And then Shofars, we mention psukim about shofar. Why this order? What exactly does it convey? That you have these psukim about kingship, about memories, remembrances, and about shofar. That's number 7. Then there's another question. Shofar. Why is there a shofar? And that's the only mitzvah of the day, really, basically, other than the korbanos and so on. Why is there a shofar, really? So there are answers to this. It reminds us of Mount Torah. Rav Sadiq, I think, brings 10 reasons. But the truth is there a secret to shofar beyond the obvious ideas, that it should awaken us? That is the question. That is question number 7.
8.
Is that 8? Okay, I lost count. Okay. Question number 9. It says that it's there to confuse the Sultan, basically, So that's very strange. Why? Because a Malach has an incredible IQ. You would think that after 5,700
74.
and how many years?
75.
No, we're talking about Rosh Hashanah. So,
75.
yeah.
5,700 and what?
75.
75. He would have figured out that on Tishrei, right, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. So why is he confused? Like, what does it mean to confound the sun? What are we talking about? Retarded?
And actually he is.
What?
He hears what we have to say about his confusion.
Of course. What's the confusion here? That's the question. What does it mean he's confounded? How can a Satan be confounded? And he knows what's about to happen. We're not talking about a retarded malach. They want the special ed. What are we talking about here? It's like, what is this? Was that number 9?
Yeah.
Number 10. It says that the sounds of the shofar, the blasts of the shofar, resemble crying. You have the tekiah, the long wail. You have the shvarim, which is a staccato wail. You know. And you have a trua, which is a actually the sheva, you know, is really a sigh. The other one, the tekiah, and the trua is staccato, where a person breaks down, and so on. Why? Why should a shofar sounds resemble crying? And there are 3 different types of crying. Why? What's the logic of that? Yes? That's number 10. Is that 10 or?
That was 10.
That was 10. Then we know that we read the Akedah on the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah. You know? Why? It's true that, you know, we're trying to get the schus of Avraham Avinu. You know, that's something that happened 4,000 years ago. It's amazing. How much can we pump out of an Akedah? You know, how much can we squeeze out of this one event, even though it's very significant that Avraham Avinu did the Akedah, and after all, it was really incredible. But how much can we squeeze out of this? You know, why mention the Akedah and so on, you know? What was that, 11? Oh, how do we deal with this? We have 11 questions on Rosh Hashanah. And they're all very important questions. How do we even begin to approach Rosh Hashanah? That is what I'd like to deal with tonight. To give it some type of a semblance, see, so we can actually understand what is going on. So, if we are ready, here goes. I want to tell you something. Rosh Hashanah is not a Jewish holiday. Really, you know. The whole world is judged. Really. It's not Jews are judged. The whole world is judged, you know. So in a certain sense, it's a universal holiday. You know. It's really what it is. So why is it, if you think about that, Goyim don't know? Why is it Goyim don't already know about this? You know, it's a universal holiday. The world is judged. You know what I'm saying?
They should really celebrate it too.
Well, they should be involved in Rosh Hashanah.
At least Bnei Noach, right?
What?
At least Bnei Noach.
Bnei Noach, exactly. Like, where are these guys? You know, they're also being judged. You see what I'm saying?
So maybe they do celebrate it, you know? What do the Bnei Noach do?
I don't
I have no idea.
I have no idea about this.
No, they have no idea about anything. I mean, just
Yeah,
they just
okay,
stumble
but I'm
across
just
the
saying, you
idea.
know, why wasn't this promoted and say, hey, you guys also have to go to shul?
No, maybe we should. Maybe we should.
I mean, I'm not sure go to church. I mean, wherever they're going to blow their shofar, right?
No, maybe we should promote it to them.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's a question. It's a question.
How come they're not involved?
No, they're not more because we don't promote it.
Why don't we?
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah, why don't we? Yeah, maybe we should.
Yeah,
We
not
should.
involved.
Maybe we should do some marketing to them.
Yeah, marketing. Internet.
Goodyear tires.
Goodyear tires.
Could you what?
Tires. Yeah.
Tires?
On the cars, you know, the Goodyear tires.
Goodyear tires. It's not a good year, it's a New Year's. You see, so what's that, number 12? You know? And so it's not, and so therefore that's the question, like why is it just for Jews? It's really for everybody, you know, because everybody's being judged. So what's unique about it that it's a Jewish holiday? That's the question. We know clearly it's unique that it's Jewish, you see. Well, you know, there's a lot of questions here. Right? Have you ever thought about these questions before?
Yeah, last time when you were speaking about Rosh Hashanah,
What was that?
a few years ago.
Okay. You're the only one. In any case, so that's the question. And most people don't even think about this when you think about that. You know, and like I said, one of the strongest is it's incompatible.
It's question number 13. Why people don't think about it?
Yeah,
It's the main question, actually.
yeah. Well, that itself is not a kasha because who thinks about anything? Really?
That's the answer.
That's the problem. Most people, when they have a yontif, they don't think about the yontif. They're too busy enjoying the meal. You know what I'm saying? One of the big problems with Klal Yisrael, I feel, it's my personal opinions, is that people are into the rituals, they're into the halachas, they're not into the ruchnias. There's a difference between ruchnias, spirituality, and rituals, which are mitzvahs, the halachas. Most people are into the halachas. You see, they eat and they sleep and they have the meal, whatever. But where's the ruchnias to all this? You know what I'm saying? Why is there not enormous amount of spirituality?
No, but to follow Hashem's rotzen, it's also ruchnius. Just there's deeper ruchnius into thinking.
No, yeah, of course you have to do the halachas, that's not the problem. But why is it only that? There's no ruchnius, you know. That's the problem. And this is what I find by most Yom Tovim. There's no ruchnius, there's no spirituality. What Judaism has become a religion. It's not spirituality anymore for people. You know, there's no avodah, there's no growth. Part of the reason for that, I believe, because most people have no concept of what the Yontif is other than the historical event. They know the historical event, and they know the halachas, but they don't really know what's going on, and so on. So that's why it's so critical to understand the ruchnius behind something, so you can connect with it and grow. Anyway, so we have all these questions. You need to answer them. Now, is it possible to find one answer for all of it? And of course the answer is yes. Because the method always that you should seek is don't have 13 questions or 12 questions and answer it with 12 different answers. The real way to understand truth is the concept of elegance or tiferes, beauty. We have one idea that knocks everything away. In science that's called elegance. Elegance means, wow, one idea can answer everything. That's the approach should be really to everything. You know what I'm saying? You know? Anyway. You know, today's Parsha is Pinchas, which is interesting. You know, so the reward that Pinchas killed Zimri and whatever her name is, Cosby. You know, so Hashem said, you become a Kohen. He made him a Kohen, because Pinchas really wasn't a Kohen, even though he was a descendant. But the problem, because Aaron was appointed Kohen after Pinchas was born, so he wasn't a Kohen. You know, so what the Hashem did by Pinchas, so he made him a Kohen. So my question was, so what? You know, it's just a Kohen. Everybody who's born from a Kohen is a Kohen. He didn't do anything, except it was just birth. So like, you know, everybody anyway, these people anyway have it. So what was the greatness about Pinchas being a Kohen? Okay, he was a Kohen, it's nice, it's chachoshev, but everybody's born to the Kahuna as a Kohen. And they didn't do anything like Pinchas. So he's giving Pinchas a reward that thousands of people get anyway. So like, somehow it's not the chashivas that Pinchas should have, you know? You know what I'm saying? So my answer, and also we know that you can't take the kahuna, and you cannot take the melucha, and everybody can take the kesed Torah. You know what I'm saying? The question is why. So what I said, because I'm illustrating the concept of tiferes, beauty, because what the Baruch did to Pinchas, I think, my vote, is unusual. Why? Because the concept of kahuna is an attribute of the neshama that you have. Aaron was the shurish neshama of kahuna. So everybody born from kahuna had that shurish neshama. The problem was, Pinchas didn't have that because he was not able to get that because Aaron got that before, after Pinchas was born. So what the Baruch Shem did is he said to Pinchas, you will now be a shurish neshama of kahuna yourself. Everybody borrows from that, the shurish neshama. But what he did is he made Pinchas the shurish neshama of kahuna itself.
Just like Aaron HaKohen.
Just like Aaron HaKohen, yeah. So therefore all these descendants, come from Pinchas as opposed from Aaron. You see, which is interesting. That's an incredible chiddush, that he became a shurish neshama of kahuna itself. Interesting. And that answers why you can't become a kohen because you don't have that shurish neshama. And you can't become a melech because you don't have the shurish neshama. But you can become kesed Torah. Why? Because everybody, Chadhu, God, Torah, and Klal Yisrael is one, So since we all have the Sheret and Shema of whatever Torah is, we can all take the crown of Torah. See? One idea answers both. You see? That's my Torah on Pinchas, But it's a concept of elegance where you can have one idea answering many things. Okay? How do we answer this? Well, we have to begin thinking. The truth is that every act of God can be categorized under three categories, one of three categories. It's amazing. Everything the Rosh Hashanah does is only one of three things. Yes? If I say so.
What is it?
Right? The first Hanhoga, or the acts of God, is categorized as what? As Hanogas HaKiyum. It is the acts based on the fulfillment of the Bria, which we will see. What is that? What the Rosh Hashanah does is he creates reality. He creates the universe, the creation, everything. Why? Because he has a specific matorah, objective, goal that he wants fulfilled. So therefore he will create the world with all its things. He will create the background in order that a Jew should be tested. And if he passes the test, then he will do whatever things he has to do, tikkun and so on, So therefore that's not Zakir. These are the acts of God that God creates what's called a setup. And which we need to be tested, and if we are tested, fine. So those are the first acts of God. That's the totality of creation itself. Second acts of God, it's called Anahus HaMishpat. Well, a person has to be involved in a situation, and what's he going to do? So what's he going to do? If he does it, fine. If he does it, so he'll get rewarded, so to speak. If he fails, he gets punished. That's Mishpat, justice. Justice, so the Hanogas HaKiyum fulfillment comes before the act of man. Mishpat comes after the act of man. Everybody got that? Got that? So Hanogas HaKiyum, the acts of God to create and make a background to set up, comes before man's acts. Then he creates a man.
Before, just regardless. Regardless of man's act. No, not just before. I mean, before.
No, it's a setup.
It's just regardless. Whatever it is, Kiyum is Kiyum. I mean.
Well, this is what God does to fulfill the purpose of creation. So that's called the background or the setup, staging. Then a person is placed in that background to see what he's going to do. That's in Nisayim. And when he does whether he passes or fails in Nisayim, there's mishpat, there's justice. Justice is a response to the acts of man, is it not? So therefore God, right, there's a whole series of actions, whether he will be rewarded or punished, whatever, based on his actions. That's called mishpat, justice, or judgment. Therefore, there are acts of God in response to a man's acts. That is called judgment and justice. That's number two. But the interesting thing about it, what's also interesting is this. The setup is a very important concept. Everything created, there's only one reason why a thing is created. You know what that is? There's only one reason in terms of the creation itself, those acts that God does for the fulfillment of creation. There's only one reason why God does anything. Do you know what that is? To advance the purpose of creation. That's it. Even a beetle is there because it advances the creation. We don't understand. There are 300,000 species of beetles.
How did that be?
Not 300,000 beetles. There are infinite amount of beetles. There are 300,000 different species of beetles. Astounding. There are 7,000 species of ants. And you thought the ants were like, whatever the guys crawling around your house there. No. There are 7,000 species of ants. Each thing has thousands of species to it. Then how many ants in the species is trillions. Then the question is why? You mean if there would be 2,999 species of beetles, the world wouldn't exist? The answer is no. And not only that, every beetle that exists in the species must be. We don't understand why. all the fish in the sea, species, there are thousands of species of fish. And the scientists and oceanographers are trying to figure it all out. It's unbelievable what's in the sea. By the vents, on the bottom of the floor of the sea, it's called the hot air, the hot vents, thousands of degrees, and they're by the bacteria that live in the heat, And there are fish that are deep miles down, and they can't see, yet they glow. The variety of living species is beyond belief. Scientists estimate that there are at least 10 million species. Many believe of living forms. Many believe that there are 100 million species. If you also include all the viruses and the different viruses and bacteria, fungi, it's astounding how many species there are. Forget about how many things there are. And every one exists to advance the purpose of creation. You believe this? Therefore, when species become extinct, why they become extinct? Because it's no longer needed to advance the purpose. So God allows them to be extinct. We have no idea what's going on in this Bria and so on.
Well, why can't it be totally on the hero of man?
It is, but we don't understand why they're necessary. Why do I need a species to exist in
Species could be wiped out. You're telling me that there's absolutely zero. A lot of these animal rights people are crazy, but at the end of the day, if there's poaching going on, then it can severely diminish the population of the species.
Yeah, but God will not allow it unless you don't need it anymore to advance the purpose. You cannot destroy something which is needed to advance the purpose.
So what's the whole Shiloh that somebody can tell somebody else?
Well, all I'm telling you is that the requirements to advance the purpose. You cannot interfere with that. If you do, you will be destroyed. That's why the mob, and so on. Because the Rosh needs that to advance the purpose. That's the end of it. If he allows man's Bechira to destroy, it's because these things are no longer necessary. Whatever. We're not getting into the complications of it and so on. And we don't understand that. And this is all Hanogas HaKiyum. All of this is necessary just for the world to continue. You say, astounding. Okay? Now, then there's Hanogas HaMishpat. Okay? For those things that have free will. God judges. So therefore there's a whole series of acts, And the question is, what does it mean? What if a man sins, there's suffering or punishment. And if a man does a mitzvah, is he rewarded? No. There's no such thing as a reward. Schar mitzvah by ha'amalekah. You cannot be rewarded for a mitzvah in this world. For many reasons. One of which is that the reward does not suffice sufficiently to give you a reward for a mitzvah. Because the reward of a mitzvah is Ein Sof. So you can't give a guy an Ein Sof amount of money. I'm sure everybody'd like that. But you can't do it, And not only that, the form of a mitzvah, not only the quantity, the quality cannot be enjoyed. The mitzvah is a spiritual reward, whereas we're physical. So not only we cannot have the amount of the mitzvah, we cannot even have the ruchnis of the reward of the mitzvah. And besides, if God rewarded you here, what would happen? You would have no bechira, because you would never sin, because you say, wow. Anyway, the main idea is, schar mitzvah by ha'amalekah, there is no such thing as a reward for a mitzvah in this world. But what there is what? Is God will reward you by giving you a greater opportunity to do more mitzvahs. It's like a guy who's a teller in a bank, and because that person was very good, they now make him a VP or manager. So he still has to work, except now he can get a higher salary. You see? And so on. So that's how God rewards. By giving you the opportunity to do more mitzvahs.
I just want to make sure I understand the concept as you express it, that you can't get rewarded for a mitzvah in this world.
Yes.
What about the stories you hear in times where towns were having misfortune and things, and so everyone checked their tzitzis or their mezuzahs, or they stopped Lashon Hara and things started becoming better for them?
Well, that stops the punishment. But I'm not talking about this. We're talking about reward. You're talking about minimizing punishment. I'm talking about getting reward, right? It's two different things. Anyway, everybody got that? Okay, so that's a second series of actions. Yes? But then there's a third series of actions that determines the behavior of God. What is that? Here's what it is. If everything is up to the bechira of man, yes? Then, let me ask something. Isn't it theoretically possible that everybody will sin 24/7.
It's practical possible, not just theoretical.
It's what?
It's practical possible, not just theoretical.
It's practically impossible?
Yeah.
Did you say impossible?
Possible.
Impossible.
No, it is possible.
Oh, it is possible.
I know some people like that.
No.
Not Lakewood, no.
No. Oh my God.
The Rasha.
It is possible for everybody, it's theoretically possible for everybody to sin, right? And therefore, they will frustrate the will of God. There won't be no Yom Kippur because there's nobody there. You see what I'm saying? It's possible theoretically. Yes? Right? So, what's God going to do? Since man has free will, it is possible for everybody to sin 24/7, and that's the end of the whole purpose of creation. So, that means the will of God is frustrated. Did it ever happen that everybody sinned 24/7? And the answer is yes. Of course it happened. Mabul. Obviously everybody sinned where God said enough is enough and I'm wiping everybody out.
Except for Noah, I guess.
Well, fortunately, but you realize what that means? One man was the only one who survived? You know what I'm saying? So the question is, what's the Rosh going to do? You see. And the answer is, this is the third Hanhoga, or series of acts of God, called Hanhoga Sayichud, which Ramchal talks about. Hanhoga Sayichud is the acts of a being that is supreme above everything. What are those acts? Those acts guarantee that the world must have a tikkun, no matter what man does. Notwithstanding the free will of man, the world must have a tikkun. And there are certain acts which God does that will not allow man to destroy the universe, the world, which guarantee the acts, the tikkun of the Bria, the rectification of creation. The problem is we don't know those acts. Those are kilmastater. Those acts are concealed, you see. But what those acts basically are, it's a backup system. It's a guarantee. It's called a contingency plan B. That if people choose and they sin and it's not working out, then the Baruch Hashem brings in the secondary system called Hanhoga Sayichud that guarantees. And we don't understand the rules. The classic example is Tzaddik V'Raloi. A righteous man, and all of a sudden it's terrible evil, and Rosh Hashanah. And even Moshe Rabbeinu asked that. Nobody understands that. Because justice means you do A, you get a B. You do good, you get reward. You do bad, you get punished. What is this business that the bigger Rosh you are, the better things are, And the bigger tzaddik you are, you can suffer terribly. And you saw that many times in history. The tzaddikim that suffer terribly. The classic is the Jews. You know what I'm saying? You take a look outside the world today, and everybody who has evil is prosperous. I shouldn't say everybody, but you take a look at what's going on outside in the world today. Evil prospers, you see. Evil dominates, prospers. Evil rules. You look at the good, what's happening with the good? No good. I remember I was once driving New Jersey, Deal, New Jersey, I passed this college, Monmouth College, if you ever heard of Monmouth College. Forget about what a gorgeous campus. The buildings, the campus, it's gorgeous. And you don't even have to go to Deal, just check out what Georgian Court here. It's a beautiful campus and so on, Then you drive by a yeshiva, looks like a chorben, How many yeshivas look like a chorben, or a shul looks like a chorben? So how is it possible? You ever see Harvard University? The nobility and the dignity of those buildings, or MIT, or and so on. Even a small town, nothing college looks unbelievably beautiful and dignified. You compare that to how many shuls, they look like shmatas. You know what I'm saying? Where's the tzaddik v'toivloi and the Rosh Hashanah?
Reform.
You know what I'm saying? Reform temples. Yeah, incredible. You compare that to Reform temple to a Hasidic shtibel. You say, what's going on here? So, what does all this mean? This is all the concept of Hanhoga Sayichud. You see. Anyway, it's mysterious that we don't understand. But when you add them all up together, what are they all total? They all total one thing. all of them are to advance the purpose of the tikkun. Whether it be the setup, the mishpat, or the yichud. You see, all for one purpose. That God says, I want to bring the world to its correction, I want to repair, and so on. The ultimate repair, correction, rectification. All of this is for that. Now, let me ask you this. Now that you understand this, yes, you can understand something else. Okay? Let's assume you open up a business. Yes? What do? Isn't it true that every business has to have some type of an annual evaluation? Isn't that true? You want to see. What do you want to see? Are you making any money this year? Any profits? Or is it loss? What about your inventory? Do you have enough inventory? Your marketing division, your advertising. You need an inventory. You need what's called an evaluation of your business. Everybody does that. You see? Everybody evaluates a business. Now, based on the results of your evaluation, what do? You adjust, right? You make what's called corrections, right? You make corrections in the business. Well, I'm not making enough money because of what? Maybe I have too much inventory, not enough cash, right? The marketing, I'm not advertising enough, whatever it is. But then there's what's called adjustments. There are corrections based on your evaluation of your business. Is that not true? What is the business of God? Really? What's the enterprise? And the answer is tikkun. The business of God, His enterprise is tikkun. So doesn't it make sense that every once in a while He has to check out, He has to evaluate the tikkun? Where is it? Where are we holding between Gashmis and Ruchnias? Between Toiv and Ra? Wait. Where is He holding between Toiv and Ra, Gashmis and Ruchnias? Is the Kedusha side winning or is the Tumah side winning? The Klippa? And so on. In other words, the Rosh Hashanah has to evaluate what? Where is the tikkun holding? Are we closer? Are we further away? What is the Jews doing? The Jews are the one who corrects. So what are they doing? Are they closer or not? Based on that, you have an adjustment. You see? If the Jews are not doing the tikkun, so God has to create a new scenario that the Jews will go to and have an isayin there. You see? If the Jews are doing good, then things are always changing from minute to minute or whatever based on the tikkun of the Jews. Right? In other words, God wants to bring down the presence of Kedusha Himself. You see, how much Kedusha or holiness or spirituality are the Jews doing? Therefore, every enterprise needs an evaluation and then a subsequent adjustment. Got it? That's what takes place on Rosh Hashanah. It's not that you are judged, so to speak, individually. No. It's not really an individual judgment per se, although that does happen. What it is, the Rosh Hashanah looks at the totality of the Bria, everything, and he asks himself, where are we standing in terms of the entire enterprise itself? Are we moving forward, tikkun, or are we moving backward, kilkul? You see? That's what Rosh Hashanah really is. Got that? And therefore the Rosh Hashanah will adjust. If all of a sudden the Jews are in a nation and they sin, so the Rosh Hashanah will say, well, I now have to do what? I want to ship them off to some other nation. So therefore they will go into an isayin that will correct the damage they've done. But the interesting thing about it is whenever the Rosh Hashanah sends any Jew to any nation, he will always make that nation great. Interesting. You see. So therefore, all of a sudden, the nation that they are destined to go into discovers oil, or becomes a major shipping country, and therefore they go into that. So we see that everything is adjusted, right, based on the tikkun that is done by the Jews. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. It's really an enterprise evaluation. That's the judgment, you see. And therefore, the whole world is shifted based on that. And therefore, that answers many questions. What happens on Rosh Hashanah? It's not a judgment per se. It's an evaluation of the whole tikkun process. That's what Rosh Hashanah really is. And subsequently, there's an adjustment to that process. See, that answers why Adam Mida B'chol Yoim is you're judged in terms of what you're doing in your job. But what job you will have is determined on Rosh Hashanah. It could be somebody's very wealthy, and the Russian decides, right, that I'm going to change your job, I'm going to make you poor. So that happens on Rosh Hashanah, right? Umiya'osha, miya'oni, right? Who become rich and poor. But what are you doing when you're poor is judged every day. That's the difference. So therefore, we don't want the Russian to change our status, or maybe we do. That's Rosh Hashanah, where he will look at the Bria, the totality, the tikkun, and he will change your status. However, how are you doing in any given status, job, that will be b'chol yoim. That's the tremendous difference. So one is the global evaluation and adjustment, and the other is a personal evaluation, you see. And that also the question why animals are judged. Because the Russian doesn't judge the animals. What he does is he readjusts where they will be. Because maybe they need to be here in terms of the tikkun process. And all of a sudden the Russian says, well, I need to send a swarm of locusts in Africa across the Mediterranean, and they will invade Spain or Israel or whatever, you see. So the grasshoppers are not judged, you see. But they are readjusted in terms of how they fit in the picture of kiyum, fulfillment, reward, punishment, and so on. That's why everything is judged. Either you're judged in terms of your guilt or culpability, or you're judged in terms of where do you need to be placed in terms of the tikkun process itself. So that answers that question, the concept of why everything is judged.
So when
Got
it's
it?
called Shuvah?
What?
Is that a reason why it's called Shuvah on Rosh Hashanah?
Yes. Yeah. No, hold on. But now what's interesting is this. You know, when a boss evaluates his business, does he tell his workers? No. He doesn't tell anybody. He sits down in his office. He has all the division heads report to him. He doesn't tell the company what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? He makes his evaluation and that's it. And the Rosh Hashanah is even better. He does it in a nanosecond of time. The Rosh Hashanah, like the Mishnah says, b'skir achas. The Rosh Hashanah starts from here and in an instant of time spans the entire Bria exactly. In an instant of time, he has not to tell anybody. Nobody even knows what God does. He knows what he does, where he does it and how, right? We're talking about an infinite being, so to speak. But the Rosh Hashanah decided to do Klal Yisrael a tremendous chesed. He's going to tell them what he's going to do. He's going to warn them. Why? Because he wants them to do tshuva and influence the verdict. That's why. It's like the boss sends out a slip to the company and says, by the way, such a day, be an evaluation, shape up or ship out. And that's a tremendous act of chesed that the Rosh Hashanah has done. He informed us that he's going to do the evaluation. So therefore, he wants our input. He wants us to change so we will influence the verdict of where we will be, and it's tremendous for us. So therefore, Rosh Hashanah is an incredible chesed. He didn't have to tell us at all, you see. So therefore comes out that Rosh Hashanah is an unbelievable chesed that he informed us about what he's about to do.
That's mean you didn't.
Us means the Yidden, yeah. Got it? And that's why he informs the Jews. Why? Because the Goyim cannot do tikkun. So what's the point? Even if they did tshuva, it would only affect them individually. It would not affect the tikkun of the Bria. Therefore, Rosh Hashanah is really, in that sense, it's universal application, but it is a Jewish, it's a masakein. It's only really for the people who do the tikkun, you see. It's not for people who are just involved in helping set up at all, because they don't do the tikkun. That's why it's not really for goyim, you see. Even if they did tshuva, it wouldn't advance the tikkun process.
Why are we being told to do tshuva? At the end of the day, let's say you have to shift from this department to that department. And maybe we could, do tshuva before to tell Hashem, no, we'll do better in our department that we are, we'll be mistaki, whatever it is. At the end of the day,
I don't see the question. What's the question?
the question is, on one hand, you don't need to do, you said you don't need to do tshuva because it's not an individual thing, but on the
You
other
do
hand,
need to do tshuva. Because your position will be shifted. He may make a rich guy poor.
so what are you
Nobody
trying to
wants
tell
that.
Hashem by doing tshuva?
That please make me rich, keep me rich.
And I'll do the tikkun that way?
Exactly. You don't want to change the way you're doing the tikkun. You certainly don't want to go down and be poor, and so on, of course. Or make me rich if I'm poor because I want to do the tikkun when I'm rich. But maybe you need to do tshuva for the Hashem to do that.
That's why the focus is Malchus Hashem, because it's not that make me rich, it's not I'm sorry for what I did, it's we need to do the tikkun.
Yeah.
Keep
That's
me or change my status for
Exactly, yeah. Okay?
But
Everybody got that?
The tikkun would happen anyways, right? Because it's Hanegas Yichud.
Wait, hold on. This is Mishpah. Because the real way the Hashem wants the tikkun to happen is Mishpah. He wants you to do it through your Bechira. You see? Fine. Everybody got that so far? Great. But there's a tremendous problem that's about to arise. We now know what Rosh Hashanah does. What does Rosh Hashanah do? It's an evaluation and a readjustment of tikkun. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what's Rosh Hashanah? The second thing what it is he tells us. And that's a tremendous act of chesed, that he informs us what will be. But there's a very big problem. What is the problem? Because as long as the Rosh Hashanah does it from himself, nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's no kitrug, because nobody knows. But if the Rosh Hashanah all of a sudden does what? Informs Klal Yisrael what he's about to do, and Jews are doing tikkun, and doing tshuva, whatever, and so on, all of a sudden he introduces an open court. And in an open court, in comes the prosecuting attorney. And the Sultan says, excuse me, you call that a tshuva? This isn't a tshuva. You see, so by making it public, what he does, he introduces the whole concept of what? Defense and prosecution. Bad news. We don't want that. So the Rosh was trying to help us, instead of, it's like thank you and no thank you kind of thing, right? Thank you for telling me about it, but no thank you. I now have to place a prosecuting attorney to see if when I'm doing this tshuva. We don't want that. You see the dilemma that the Rosh faces. So how does the Rosh get around that? What he really wants is to tell us we should do tshuva, influence the verdict, the toiv, and he wants to keep the Satan out. But how? And the answer is shofar. That's what does. Shofar is the magic that stops the Satan from kitrug and allows us to know about Rosh Hashanah and do tshuva. How? Right? But you hear the logic so far. Isn't it interesting? The build-up, the evaluation, right? The readjustment, the fact that he told us the chesed, and the introduction of the Satan, because now everybody knows. Therefore, the Rosh introduces the concept of shofar, so Satan cannot prosecute.
Hashem wants to suspend persecution. He can do it any time.
He wants to spend who?
If you want to suspend the persecution,
No, he can't.
to pause it.
He can, but he won't. That's the concept of mishpat. They play around.
So what's shofar?
I mean, you might kill the guy. It's the point.
So what's shofar? What's shofar?
A good, valid question, yeah. Well, I'm just introducing what shofar does. That's why there is a shofar. To stop the prosecution. Got it?
Without breaking the system.
Without breaking the system, yeah. See? Okay, great. You hear so far what's happening. And what shofar does, it stops the Satan. But how? What a shofar fundamentally does is this. All of a sudden, Elul comes. And this is the tshuva time. Tshuva for Elul. Rosh Hashanah is the judgment. Hopefully, the Jews will have done tshuva, and the judgment will be good. But there's a Satan prosecuting the Jews. Call this a tshuva? What do you mean? He doesn't deserve anything, and so on. right? It's a major court case. Who can face the Satan? Nobody wants to face the Satan, right? So what the Rosh Hashanah says is, okay, I want you to blow shofar. What's that going to do? What happens when the Jews blow shofar? The Rosh Hashanah gets up from his seat, judge, right? And he goes into his courtroom and does that in Hagas HaYichud. You see? You notice, what happens when the Jews blow shofar, the Rosh Hashanah gets up from what's called Kisei Rachamim, which is really the seat of, actually Kisei Din, the seat of justice. And he goes into his chambers, which nobody knows. And he says, I'll do the judgment from there. And the Satan cannot enter the room of Hagas HaYichud.
How's that? How?
Because he leaves the courtroom.
So he breaks the
How does
system.
shofar do that?
What?
How does shofar?
I didn't get to that yet. First I have to tell you what shofar does. Then we talk about how it does it. Yes?
So it breaks the system.
Correct. But what does it do to break the system? That the person doesn't leave the judgment, but the judgment goes from what? Hagas HaMishpat to Hagas HaYichud.
He says, I'm judging privately now, don't...
Yeah. Therefore there's no prosecution there. I will judge based on my understanding of how to do it. So there's no defense attorney, there's no prosecution. That's the
And
difference.
if you don't blow shofar, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Exactly.
Even though Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Blow shofar.
yeah, that's why it says a city that doesn't blow shofar that year, bad news. Because for them, the Boshim remained in the court of justice. So what we need to do is move the Boshim out of the court of justice into the court of Yichud, which is the place that Boshim judges, evaluates, and so on, but in a way which is not comprehensible. And in that courtroom, there are no defense or prosecuting attorneys. Got it? That's how it works. That's what it means that he gets up. And that's why when you blow shofar, what you ever see Kodesh Shemati, there's 6 people, and you look at the first letters, you look at the first letters of that, what does it say? Kara Satan. The Satan is ripped. That's what it is. So shofar is the mechanism by which the Rebbeinu Shem saves the Jews from Mishpat into Yichud. Everybody got that?
Why doesn't he just do it without shofar?
How?
Just moves to another room.
Why?
No, you still don't know how it does it.
I mean, why? But
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, no.
the question is,
What I don't understand is why, when Shabbat falls on Shabbos, look what we just lost.
no, it's not true. That's why you have a pasuk, Zichron Kula, where the Rosh Hashanah says, don't worry. As long as you mention the Pesukim of shofar, you don't have to blow, that's enough. That pasuk tells us,
Ooh.
Zichron Kula. Because the Rosh Hashanah knew that the Chazal would asa a shofar. So he said, don't worry about it. Just mention shofar, that's enough to get me out of this courtroom. Thank God, huh? Everybody so far with me? This is a real, what's called cliffhanger series. It's a soap opera, you know. You can see the what you call the drama, what the Rosh Hashanah has to do to save Klal Yisrael. Question is how. Okay? What is the answer so far? It answers many of the questions. And by the way, the major way that Hagas HaYichud works is through suffering, Yisurim. Okay? Now, let's answer all the questions minus how it works. Remember the first question? What is it all about? Yom Adin? No. The day of evaluation. In your evaluation is Ha'arocha, whatever. 2. What about every day? Every day is personal, whereas Rosh Hashanah is global. It's the whole Bria. Everything is judged, including animals. Why? But they're judged not in terms of guilt or innocence, they're judged in terms of what do I do with them to assist the Jews in the new place they have to be, because there they will do the tikkun.
When
Yes.
Hashem decided one year to bring a tsunami and knock out 250,000 people,
That's it, yeah.
Hashem said there was no point in tachlis for these people.
Whatever, yeah. Why is, so, everybody with me so far? Why is Rosh Hashanah Yom Tov? Am I asked that question?
Right.
Because we know that the Rosh Hashanah is going to save us because of the shofar. So therefore it's a holiday. Imagine a guy is in a court case, right? And he bribes the whole jury. Right? Everybody got paid off. Either that or he kills the jury, one or the other, right? He doesn't going to walk out innocent, You don't know this. So that's why the Malachim sent. So we're not worried. We sit, we have a whole Suda, because we know in the end, we're going to be okay. It makes a little it's called a bumpy ride, a little rough. But in the end, we will get Olam Haba. That's why it's a Yom Tov. And the Malachim are very good. They said, excuse me, if it's a Yom Tov, because I know it's a Yichud, because they know the Jews are guaranteed, so might as well say Hallel. I mean, why are we playing games here? If you got it all set up where it's going to be okay for the Jews, even though you're evaluating them, because of Anhogas Yichud, because you're going to get up and walk into the other room, right? So we might as well say Hallel. So Baruch Hashem said, you're right, it's guaranteed for the Jews, but since they're being judged life or death, you cannot say Hallel with that type of tension, even if you know that you bought the jury off. You see, because fraud, you have to go through a whole court case, and so on. You see, now you understand perfectly the dialogue. And why do we have Zichronis, Malchus, Zichronis, and Shofars? Because that's the presentation. That's how we present in Mishpat. Malchus is, we didn't appoint you king, but you're the Melech, that's the tshuva, that we now appoint you Melech. It's always the Kotzke has a very nice quote. He says, Rosh Hashanah, we're supposed to make God the king of the world. Just don't forget to make him king over you too. Not just the whole world. It's God's guy.
Well, that's true about Shema too, right? We say Shema every day.
Yeah, but Malchus, no. So we say, please God, save us because we make you Melech. We do tshuva. You're the king. We need to listen to you. What happens if that's not enough? So we do Zichronis, which means if you don't want to do it because of our schus, do it for our ancestors, their schusim. And if you don't do it for their schus, so please do it for shofar and get out of that courtroom. That's why we have those three. Those are the kindness, like a lawyer. Those are defense claims that we use to save us. You see? And that's why you have that. Now, shofar. Okay? Why does shofar confound the Satan? And the answer is, of course he knows what's about to happen. But he's hoping the Jews don't do shofar. He's hoping the Jews won't blow shofar. You see? So he's not confused. He's confounded. He's frustrated. Because he knows that once the shofar blows, he's got to leave the courtroom. He's out of here. That's, it says, okay, court adjourned, and he's out of there. That's what he doesn't want, you see. And why does shofar resemble crying? Because the major idea of shofar is yisurim. And crying, when a person suffers, he cries, you see. So what we're really saying to Baruch Hashem is, please, the shofar is saying, please, judge us through the Anogas HaYichud, which will guarantee our survival and the tikkun of the Bria, even if it means suffering and crying. That's why we blow shofar. And that's why the shofar has the sounds of crying, you see. Question is, how does shofar work? Right?
So what happens when it says Mechuvah?
Oh, so we're judged, but the Moshe says, listen, I gave you Elul, and I judged you, but there are guys who are late. You just didn't get the message. It's called the appeals court. If all of a sudden on Rosh Hashanah you were judged guilty or whatever, the Moshe says, in 10 days I will give you an appeals. You can appeal. Means you can still influence the verdict retroactively. Do tshuva, and I will change whatever I made. So so there's tshuva before the judgment, and there's tshuva after the judgment. But the problem is, wait a minute, even after the judgment, you still have the Satan. So the incredible thing about Yom Kippur is the Satan cannot prosecute. The Satan has 3 jobs. He's a Yetzirah, he's a prosecuting attorney, and he's a Malach HaMaves. The prosecuting attorney aspect of the Satan is removed. So he remains the tempter and the executioner, but not the prosecuting. That's why the gematria of Hasatan is 364 and not 365, because there is no kitruk on Yom Kippur. Amazing. You see? So the idea of Yom Kippur is do any type of tshuva. And since there's no kitruk, the Satan cannot say, you call this a tshuva? You see, so what the Rosh Hashanah is trying to do is Rosh Hashanah is desperate for Klal Yisrael to do tshuva. So he gives us 30 days before, then he judges. Then he gives us 10 days for appeal. And then on the 10th day, he takes away the Satan.
Is that why in Yom Kippur you do the format of the days, you do vidoy after vidoy?
Exactly.
At least something will stick.
Exactly. It's like a desperate attempt for the Jew to do something.
And is there something from Rosh Hashanah?
Even if a Jew says, I'm really doing wrong, maybe it's time to change. And the Jew doesn't change, that's a tshuva of some sort. You see? And the Sultan normally would say, you call this a tshuva? Give me a break. You call this tshuva? See? But he's not there to prosecute. So at some level, it's considered a tshuva. You see? That's how much the Russian wants us to do tshuva. That's called bending over backwards. Imagine the judge bends over backwards so the defendant should walk away
At the end of the day, how does this affect the whole point of this whole procedure is to make sure that this Jew is doing his job towards tikkun.
Yes.
If he thinks, I think I'm doing wrong, and then that's it, that's the end of it, how is that going to adjust the tikkun that now can, let's say, stay in his wealth or whatever?
No, so then the Russian maintains the judgment, doesn't change it. He has to go now in a new situation, whatever that is, to do the tikkun. Whether it be Anogas Yichud, is suffering, mitzvahs, whatever it is.
So it's about him
he's replaced, he's reassigned, as they say.
So it's not so much his position, it's more his existence and
his assignment.
His assignment.
Yeah. We want to have a good assignment. We don't want to be the guys in the mines digging out the coals. We don't want that assignment. We want to be in the CEO's office, the corporate offices. And so on. And so on. That's really what it is.
Wait a second, bro. So some sort of again, you said some sort of tshuva. The whole tshuva for you,
anyway,
or not for you, but for a yid is give me a good assignment. So the guy again who just thinks if he's anyway going to be thrown to the coal mines because that's his.
No, he won't be thrown to the coal mines. That's the whole point. Do tshuva, and you won't be thrown to the coal mines.
But his tshuva, l'mayis, at the end of the day, will not. He'll stay with his same taivas and the same.
If that's in fact what he wants to do, fine. That's his choice. His bechira. So then he go to the coal mines.
But this Rosh Hashanah, he did his shmitchik of tshuva.
So what's your question?
My question is, you said that the whole thing is based on tikkun.
Yes.
But that's the whole Yoshim
everything
season. But Hashem gives us opportunities to say, let us remain or get a better assignment.
What is your question?
So my question is, this guy who's doing a kemat non-existent tshuva, but he
had a very minute form of tshuva.
He had a hirur, but at the end of the day...
So what's your question?
He really,
So maybe his assignment...
My thing is, if he stays with his assignment, the tikkun will not get done the way it's supposed to.
It will get done. The question, it will get done. The question is, what's his assignment? So maybe what the bunch will do is instead of putting on level 19 in the coal mine, they'll put him on level 10.
Okay.
It's a little more fresh air.
Okay.
What can you say? You know what I'm saying?
Does this process have any extensions from Yom Kippur through Sukkot?
Everybody needs to stay awake, even though it's very late.
Is there a portion of this process that continues from Yom Kippur through Sukkot?
Yes. That's Hoshana Rabbah. Yeah. You still can do tshuva until Hoshana Rabbah. I mean, imagine, So the judgment is Rosh Hashanah, right? Right? The signature of the judge, so to speak, is Yom Kippur. The seal is Hoshana Rabbah. And some people say the delivery is Hanukkah. What can I say? And after Hanukkah, too bad. You missed.
So Satan has a few days off. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah Rabbah.
No, Rosh Hashanah doesn't have off. He's dismissed.
He's dismissed.
He's dismissed, yes.
And in the Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah Rabbah, it's Mama's days off.
No, just Yom Kippur. Hoshana Rabbah is still around. So, just Yom Kippur. Believe me, he does not want to be off. I guarantee you. He's a workaholic. He does not want to go off. Everybody with me? Why does shofar work? The first concept is because shofar is a plea. Shofar in itself is a plea. It's like a tefillah. But instead of having a verbal tefillah, we have a sound tefillah. And the tefillah is, please, go to the Anhogas HaYichud, right? And even if it means suffering, better that. And at least we survive to have Olam Haba, because in the end, that's really what it's about. Even if a guy does not survive this world, but he'll come back, or wherever, the key is to make it to Olam Haba. That's really the end game, So that's, the shofar is really a tefillah and to stop the satanic prosecutions. That's its secret.
So shofar is not tefillah for better life. I thought it could be tefillah for worse life.
Shofar doesn't guarantee a better life, but what it does guarantee is the Anhogas HaYichud, which means you will survive and be an Olam Haba.
So basically, shofar means give us some suffering.
Shofar says no. Shofar says, do what you need to do to get me out of here. Not out of the life, but get me into Olam. Really, do whatever you have to do to get me into Olam Haba.
But practically, it means suffering, really.
Well, no, but you can avoid the suffering by doing tshuva.
Oh, that's difficult.
This is okay, what do you want from me? So you choose to do the suffering, it's difficult, right? You want to suffer? Okay.
It's not so difficult.
With all the things the Satan is capable of.
What?
With all the things the Satan is capable of. What's inherent in the shofar sound that's so intimidating to him? Why,
It's not the sound. It's the request and the motion getting up from his seat.
Oh, okay.
That's what drives him crazy.
Rather than the sound itself.
Well, he knows that if you blow shofar, that's it. Court's adjourned. And the Russian goes into his chambers and does what's called Anhogas HaYichud, and nobody knows what goes on. It's among the greatest mysteries of all. How can the Russian guarantee tikkun even though there's bechira? Nobody really knows. And that operation, or that anhoga, is Sadik V'Rala, Rosh Hashanah. Look at the world today.
Oh, it's crazy.
Look at the world today. The world is insane.
Why?
Why is it insane?
No, but where is it? It's a very good world. What do you mean it's insane? What's weird about it?
Who cares? I mean, they're all.
Could you imagine? Excuse me. I'll give you one insanity. There are many. Israel is basically at war with Hamas. Okay? If is right, and what's the eights of Obama, the United States? Restraint. Show restraint. Now let me ask something. I can hear, although it's absurd, if Israel, a state, is fighting another state. So he says, look, it's two states fighting, restrain itself. Israel is fighting a terrorist organization that is recorded as a terrorist organization. So how could you tell a state to restrain itself when it's a terrorist organization that's destroying Israel? I mean, is this guy out of his mind?
Yes.
There you are. That's one infinite example of the insanity of this world. The Hamas is a terrorist organization by the U.S. and it's forbidden for him to give money and recognize them. So how in the world could you tell a nation to restrain? It's insanity.
Okay.
What else? That's not what the shir is about. What the insanity is, How does shofar work? What is shofar really? A shofar is a device or a mechanism that adjourns the court from mishpat to yichud. That's fundamentally what it is. But why does it work? And the answer is the Akedah. That's why it works. What Avraham Avinu did makes it work for Klal Yisrael. How? God appears to Avraham Avinu and he says, Avram, you see that guy sleeping in the other room? Slit his throat. Kill him. Now Avraham Avinu immediately is stunned. How could you not be? And there are several things that go through his mind. And these are the nisyonis of the Akedah. One, kill him? Avraham Avinu is the quintessential chesed. How can a person who's about chesed kill anybody? That's the opposite of chesed. That's called cruelty. And it's not like Yitzchak deserved it, So this went connected the midah of Avram. One is sign. Second is sign. How could God command me to be cruel? What doesn't make sense? God is not cruel. It's against the midah of chesed and toiv of the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's impossible. 3, that guy sleeping in the next room is my son. How can I do that? 4, That guy in the next room, right, is the last Jew. There's no other Jews after that, right? So how can I kill the last Jew? You see. 5. It's impossible. How do you kill? No, the nations of the world sacrifice their children to God. God doesn't want human sacrifice. It's pagan. How could God want a pagan sacrifice? Because Avraham Avinu knows the worth of a human. All this is impossible. But the greatest nisayon to Avraham Avinu was what I just heard is insanity. Why? Because the Rosh Hashanah is rational. Rational means it makes sense. How can the Rosh Hashanah say Ki b'Yitzchak yikor lecho Zorah, that the Jews will descend from Yitzchak at the same time and I kill Yitzchak? Those two things are incompatible. It's called mutually exclusive commandments. Therefore, the Rosh Hashanah appears to Avraham Avinu, right, as a madman or a mad god, irrational. So Avraham Avinu looked at the Rosh Hashanah and said, what I just heard is impossible for the Rosh Hashanah to have done that. Why? Because how could the Jews come out of Yitzchak and at the same time Yitzchak is dead? It's impossible. And Avraham Avinu was an incredible philosopher, rational mind. Just thought about that. It just stunned him. Look at all the serious that happened. But Avraham Avinu said, I don't care. I don't understand. And we know the answer. The Rosh Hashanah never said kill him. He just said, V'ha'aleu li oila, bring him up for an oila. But he never said kill him. And that was the Rosh Hashanah's out. But Avraham Avinu didn't interpret it that way. He interpreted V'ha'aleu li oila means kill him. See, that's why he made a mistake. But the Rosh Hashanah wanted to make a mistake, you see. So what did Avraham Avinu do? He was stunned. So Avraham Avinu said, okay, really, I have to do it. That's it. Immediately. Vayashkem Avraham haboker. So therefore, the Rosh Hashanah said, the question is, why did God appear to him irrational? So the Rosh Hashanah said, if the Jews ever ask me, in the end of time, whatever, this was the last nisayon of Avraham, to do something which is irrational, and the Anhogas HaYichud is irrational, we do not understand its logic, then because you listen to my will, even though I appear to you irrational, then they have the right to ask me to be irrational, which is the Anhogas HaYichud. Rosh V'Tovloi and Tzadik V'Raloi is irrational. So because you were Omer Ben Yisoyim, because you listened, and even though I appear to you as an irrational God, right, and you still did my will, if the Jews ever ask me to do something irrational, which is the Anhogas HaYichud, I will do it. So therefore, that's why I read the Akedah on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, because that's the source really of our salvation. We are asking Baruch Hashem to go into Anhogas HaYichud, but Anhogas HaYichud is irrational. It doesn't make sense. Nobody understands Anhogas HaYichud. You know, it's a gzerah ufonai. Nobody understands that. All the acts which are keneged mishpat is irrational, really. It's a contradiction to God's stated characteristics of Tov. So because Avraham Avinu withstood that, so therefore we can say, Rebbeinu Shalom, do the Anhogas HaYichud, even though the Anhogas HaYichud is completely irrational and mystical. And that's why the shofar, which was the ram's horn, right? That was the ram. That was the ram's horn. That can be used to evoke the schus of Avraham Avinu, right? And we can say to Hashem, we don't care if you appear to us irrational, you see? Because of what Avraham Avinu did, do it, even if it's completely beyond our comprehension, because that will get us into Ilam Habo. And therefore, we have the schus of moving the Hashem from the Anhogas HaMishpat, the attribute of justice, to the attribute of salvation, yichud, you see. And there you are.
Even
That's
3,500.
wait. That's because it's not so much a schus of what he did. It's a schus of the form. You know, it's not like he did $1,000 worth and they were still collecting. No, it's that he did something which is he did the will of God completely, even though it was irrational. We have the right on that basis to say, listen, he formed a schus for us in that sense that we can ask for irrationality, you see. Because in the end, God punishes us. I mean, it's still tzaddik v'raloi. That doesn't change. You see, nothing changes. It's not like we're saying, well, based on what he said, save us, don't do anything good, bad to us. No. All it is saying is change the form of your evaluation. And that we can do. And in the end, that's what we want. And that's why we have a Suda, because we know in the end, all the Jews will be Olam Haba for an infinite amount of time, you see. And shofar is what allows us and guarantees us, and so on. That's it. And that answers basically all the questions of what I asked, you see. Everybody's falling apart here. Folks,
That's where it fits.
I hope you enjoyed the whole semester, as they say. And we will, God willing, unless the Mashiach comes, meet again.
Even if Mashiach comes, and so what? We can continue.
Well, Mashiach comes, he'll give a Mashiach.
If you have a guesstimation, where we'll start up again.
What do you say?
If you have a guesstimation, when we'll start up, a guess, so I can keep on the answer the whole stuff.
Well, it's not going to be till after Sukkot.
After Sukkot?
Yeah, which is,
It'll be on
wow.
the site, probably.
It's like the end of
You're going to be in
October.
Eretz Yisrael till after Sukkot.
No, I'll be back a couple of days before Rosh Hashanah. No. Yeah, but then you have Yom Tov, it's all, everybody's busy with Yom Tov, especially with, well, you heard the Rosh Hashanah Shir, so that's okay. So there's, Sukkot is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur,
Many mitzvahs.
and so on,
And there's other ones stored on the website, which are always have easy access to
Yeah.
the previous.
Yeah.
I guess you
But-
list
but-
up.
I would love to ask